The Rhine was the great river highway from the Netherlands to Switzerland. In the spring of 1514, Erasmus was making his first trip up the river to the Swiss city of Basel, stopping at various German cities along the way. Everywhere the great Rotterdammer, as they called him, was hailed by the German scholars as an ornament of Germany, the light of the world, its undisputed leader in classical learning. It was the renowned publisher Johann Froben that attracted Erasmus to Basel. Froben had agreed to publish Erasmus's version of the New Testament, taken from the original Greek sources, on which he had been working for 14 years. Ever since he had first heard Cole lecture on the Bible at Oxford, and had then taught himself Greek, Erasmus had been working on his translation. All the way to Basel, he never took his eyes off the old black handbag which held the manuscript. He had had a horrible experience on the boat from England. Halfway across the channel, he discovered that his handbag was missing. It was nowhere to be found. He was frantic. To his immense joy, after hours of despair, he found the manuscript safe ashore on the other side, the handbag having been put on another boat by mistake. For some time Erasmus had been in correspondence with Froben, and was eager to meet him. Upon reaching Basel, he hastened to the printing house, and for fun pretended to be just a friend of Erasmus, delivering another letter. I said I was also entrusted with the publishing of his works, so that whatever I did would stand as if done by Erasmus himself. At last I added that I was so like him that whoever saw me saw Erasmus. Froben then broke into a laugh as he discovered the hoax. As he had been in Venice working with Aldus Manutius, Erasmus was soon just as hard at work in Froben's printing plant in Basel, delighted to be surrounded once more by the clatter of presses and the sharp smell of ink. In March 1516, the first edition of the New Testament in Greek was completed. It was followed shortly by other editions which contained also a Latin translation for those who did not read Greek. Erasmus dedicated his version of the New Testament to Pope Leo X. Although it differed widely from the translation made by St. Jerome in 386, which was still used by the Church, the Pope was open-minded and pleased to accept it. The publication of this work, Erasmus, already famous and respected as the leader in classical learning, became still more famous as the leader in the new scientific study of the Bible. He had grown famous, but not rich. The task in Basel finished, he had to face the question of where to go next, which invitation to accept. He had a wide choice. The Bishop of Paris wrote that King Francis I would present Erasmus with a generous income from church property if he would come to the University of Paris. Cardinal Wolsey wrote to him of the welcome from Henry VIII and honors awaiting his return to Oxford or Cambridge. Good Cardinal Ximenes, before his death, had invited Erasmus to come to the University of Alcalá in Spain. George the Bearded, Duke of Saxony, offered the great Rotterdammer a chair at his University of Leipzig. Accepting none of these flattering offers, Erasmus returned to the Netherlands to be professor of theology at the University of Leuven. "Until I decide," he said, "which residence is best suited to an old age which is already knocking at the gate." At Leuven he was overwhelmed with letters. From Switzerland, Zwingli, the great religious reformer, wrote, "The Swiss account it a great honor to have seen Erasmus." One most respectful letter came from Wittenberg, from the secretary of Frederick the Wise, the Elector of Saxony, who wrote, "We all esteem you here most highly. The Elector has all of your books in his library and intends to buy everything you may publish in the future. But he also begged to say that an Augustinian friar there at Wittenberg, who was a great admirer of Erasmus, wished to call his attention to one mistake. In his version of St. Paul's epistle to the Romans, Erasmus had paid too little attention to original sin. The humble friar at Wittenberg, with convictions so strong that he dared to take issue with the foremost scholar of his day, was Brother Martin Luther, who was making his own serious study of the Bible.